This in 2025 is crazy. To be visionless, to have no vision, to have no impact, to know, to feel and know that you're not going anywhere and be okay with it, you're a dangerous person. Yes, you are. To feel and to have no impact, to have no vision, no plan, no motion, and it's okay with sitting where you at. And soaping, not sitting where you're at and playing, but sitting where you're at and soaping and destroying others because of your lack of vision. You are a dangerous person, and that is one of the most biggest red flags in. Well, what's up, family? It's your boy, it's your preacher. Welcome to Legacy Builders Podcast, where we just don't talk about it, we build. And I'm your host, Jaheim President, and I want to dive into something that we're talking about today. But before we do that, I want you to like and share and like. I don't want to say we're back. We're doing it. We're building. And we can't build without your shares. We can't build without your connections, your feed. So just do us a favor and like and share as we dive into this. I think it's powerful conversation, powerful dialogue in really in today's world as we live today. But go ahead and like and share and like as we grow on YouTube, as we grow on Spotify podcasts, as we go on Apple Podcasts, as we grow on any platform you hear podcasts, you will hear Legacy Builders Podcast as we continue to develop and brand and grow in every capacity that we are allowed to go. So, but today's topic, we're going to get into this ancient topic. The last time I talked to you, we talked about springing forward, and tonight and today, whenever you're listening to this, we're talking about red flag versus green flag. I think many of us need, it's an age old conversation, but many of us need to redefine what our red flags are, what our green flags are in order to build. I think especially in the second quarter of the year, especially when we're providing ourselves to go greater and to go higher, we have to do that. And so flags, first of all, flags are warning, or it could be welcome. It could be one to destroy or one to build your legacy on. The other helps you walk into it. And so you have to define what your red flags are. You have to define what your green flags are. I think in society, we focus so much on the negative because the world will negative produce more. If we look at life, people are always doing the hot takes, TMZ, whatever you mean. They always want the hot takes. They always want somebody negative because the world and things around you would like to see you fail more than they would like to see you succeed. So you will look, and I have a friend, and she will look for the negative things out of a person more than she'll look for the positive things out of a person. And that is why I said red flags and green flags, because if I know I said red flags, everybody would hop on this, but nobody wants to hear about the green flags because we don't look for the green flags. And some of us are we distract ourselves with what we think are green flags when we know good and well they're red flags. But how do you discern the two? I think in life you have to really be self-aware of where you are in life and what you want out of life. I think the most people who get tricked in life, or the most people who get deceived, are the people who lack discernment, are the people who are not self-aware. And so what is hard to it's hard to confuse somebody, and it's hard to stop somebody if they are self-aware. If it is easy to, if I believe you're self-aware, you can point out the green flags in yourself, but also you can point out the red flags. See, I'm scared of people who are either way, who lean too heavy in either way. So if you always point out the red flags, if you're always negative, if you always when we talk, you're always down, you're always pointing out the bad, and I'm kind of scared because you can in my mind, you can't see the good. Now here it is. If you're always boasting, pointing out what you did, da 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 da, I did this, I did that, and you cannot, you cannot avoid, or you cannot discern, or you cannot tell when you have red flags yourself, then I'm scared. But I love those people in life who dabble in the middle, who are self-aware, who can know what their strengths are, and who know what their weaknesses are. And I think so much in life, the people that are succeeding out here in life, the people that I see that are go-getters, the people that I see, especially in my age group, that are getting in, they are self-aware. They see the red flags, but here it is, they don't dwell in their red flags. They don't dwell in the bad. They don't do. I got some fraternity brothers. I got some fraternity brothers who are doing excellent work. Excellent. I gotta get them on the podcast one day. But they're doing excellent work because you know why? I've seen from afar. I've seen them get up and continue to go, even when they've had setbacks, even when they've had red flags. And I've seen them over time, just from the short time I've been watching them, I've seen them develop their red flags into green flags. Can I tell you this? Sometimes your greatest weakness can be your ally to something better. And sometimes your greatest strengths can be look, it goes both ways. I really do believe in this red flag versus green flag. And can we take it out of the relationship? Everybody wants, when you hear about red flag, green flag, you think about, oh, what red flag she got, what green flag she got. No, I have to, in the life that I'm trying to build, in the life that I'm trying to create, I had to realize that you red flags and green flags also apply in friendship, also apply in job, who you're working for, who you're working under, in connections. We dumb it down to just relationship. Yeah, now that's important. Whoever you're dating, whoever you're talking to, whoever you're potentially trying to marry, yeah, you got married. You got to know their red flags. You got to know their green flags. You got to know what their flaws are, where their strengths. But I've learned, and this season of my life has taught me, I have to learn the environment I'm in. I have to study the environment. Even with my kids, even with my students, I had to learn. And each of my classes are different. I know what works for this class, what works for that class. And I had to learn that. And I set back lately in life, especially in the second quarter, I had to learn what areas are feeding my green flags and which areas are promoting my red flags, which people who are profiting, who are succeeding, because there are some people that are profiting off of your red flag. There are some people that are thriving because they know, if you live in that red flag area, if you live in that self-destruction area, if you live in that negative area, that know that you'll never be able to make it without. You'll never be able to make it and move. But those people who are living in that green flag area, yeah, it's good, yeah, it's great, but they don't have no self awareness. So I've been re-examining my life. I really have. Because I want to do better. I want to do better. I want to do better with this podcast. I want to do better with my fitness. I just want to be better than where I'm currently are. And here it is. I had to wake up one day in this week, and yesterday I went to a graduation party, and I looked at myself when I got home. This is how self-aware I am. I look at myself when I go home. I say, "Oh, whoa, 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 Jaheim, let's go," because I'm missing out on money. Promise you, I am. I'm missing out on dreams. I'm missing out on aspiration, and so I had to realize, Jaheim, okay, it's time now to navigate this thing. And so what I realized is the five most red flags you got to avoid in life is people that are consistently in chaos. Do you have friends? Do you have family that are consistently in chaos? Like every time you talk to them, every time you pick up the phone, every time you do this, it's always drama. It's always chaos. They ain't got no money. You got no this. They ain't got no that. It's just always like you feel like you're having the same conversation over and over again. Listen, I had friends, I had family members, I had coworkers, I had things. I had to realize that it's a constant chaos. They thrive in that. They live in that constant chaos because they some people who live in that constant chaos, they are afraid of these two words: accountability, discipline. And so they'll create different scenarios. They'll create different functions. They'll create different things. Oh, the world is against me. People are against me. This is against me. No. Sometimes you got to look at yourself and you say, get up. You got to look at yourself and say, nah, I ain't going to avoid that. I ain't going to do that. And so I had to learn it. And honestly, that is I think that's one of the hardest thing to do. And the hardest thing to avoid, especially those family members and friends, because they kind of build a crutch on you. People who are also who are have no stability, who are always in chaos, who are always in drama, and they see somebody who isn't, they'll lean on that person for strength. You can look at all your family members. You can look at some of your friends who is always in some mess, always stuff, and they lean on you, aka they're draining you for strength because they don't have no strength, and so they're draining you for strength. And listen, and that's crazy. Um, and I have this red flag right here. Always talking but never growing. You know those people that are always talking. You know those people that's always say, I got this, I got that, but you never see the fruition of it. You never see the promise of it. You never see the goal of it. And so what they'll do is they'll keep talking. They'll keep doing this. Da, 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 I got da, 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 da. I got this, I got that, I got that, I got da, da, da. But you never see the fruition of it. And those people kind of go hand in hand with those chaos people. They're always talking, but they're never growing. I'm scared of people who are stuck in the same place. I really am. Because and here it is. That is one of my greatest fear, to be stuck in the same place, to be stuck. I really do reflect over my years. I really do. And if I see no progress, if I see no progression, not perfection, but if I see no progress, then I start getting scared for myself because I'm like, okay, whoa, because that is one of the worst places to be in, is to be stuck in the same place. Another one that you gotta avoid, red flags you gotta avoid, victim mentality, constant blaming the shift, blaming other people, blaming things, blaming environment. Always. Now, I'm not saying that there are some people that don't do nothing to you, but always, like they always, you always meet them, they always blaming, they're always doing this, they're always doing that, they're always like, just always blaming. Always, it was this, it was because I grew up in this neighborhood, because I did this, because I met this person, because I dated this person, because I did that, da, da, da. No, I had to realize that I had to stop using that my biological father wasn't in my life. I had to, because I could have used that as an excuse of why I didn't do this, why I didn't do that. I had to stop that. I stopped that a couple years ago. And honestly, I I'll leave that alone. I'll leave that for Father's Day. But I had to stop doing that. I had to stop doing that. I had to stop blaming that. I had to stop blaming, oh, da, 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 da. No, no, no. I had opportunities afforded me and I was blessed for it, so we have constantly in chaos, always talking, never growing, victim mentality, disrespected disguised as honesty. Disrespect disguised as honesty. Whoa, Jesus. People who tear you down under the radar that keep it real. Do you know people that are they'll use honesty, but in the end, there's truth to honesty. Some people say truth for hurt, whatever. But they'll use different things. They'll use honesty as a weapon, not as a builder. Here it is. Yeah, they'll use honesty. So people will disrespect you, and they'll think it by saying, "Oh, I'm being honest." They'll say, "Oh, well, no, I'm being honest." They'll say, "Oh, yeah, Jaheim, you gotten bigger." I had somebody say, can't do that. But they'll use honesty as disrespect, and I feel like this a lot comes from a lot of the older generation, but some younger generation do it. But they'll use that. You know, they'll try to be honest, but they're low-key disrespecting you. They'll try to present it as here it is. They'll try to present it as a joke. Then it's not even funny. But and this fifth one is the biggest one. I think this is one of the most scariest red flag. The lack of vision. The lack of vision. People who ain't going nowhere and they're okay with it. That is one of the most scariest person in the world. Somebody who don't have a vision for their life. Ah, God, to be visionless in 2025 is crazy. To be visionless, to have no vision, to have no impact, to know, to feel and know that you're not going anywhere and be okay with it, you're a dangerous person. Yes, you are. To feel and to have no impact, to have no vision, no plan, no motion, and it's okay with sitting where you at and soaping, not sitting where you're at and playing, but sitting where you're at and soaping and destroying others because of your lack of vision. You are a dangerous person, and that is one of the most biggest red flags in life that you must avoid. Somebody who ain't got no vision. God, I could preach a sermon out of that because vision equals destiny. Vision equals legacy. But if you have no vision, how can you build a legacy? If Steve Jobs didn't have a vision, how could he build? Listen, it is so simple. It is so. I think some of us, it is the lack of vision comes from some of us our environments, but some of us is who are we letting in our ear? I got to do a podcast about that. The lack of vision is so dangerous. I'm telling you it is. So if you have surrounded yourself with red flags, don't be surprised when you bleed. So if you surround yourself with a bunch of red flags, don't be surprised when you start bleeding and there's no one else to help you. Listen, there were seasons of my life I was bleeding and no one was there to help me because I was feeding into red flags. God, that's good. Um, and for every red flag, there is a green flag. Come on, say that. So green flags. I'm gonna give you 5 green flags to pursue. The first one is accountability over ego. At my job, we have a love, support, and accountability, and I think accountability is so great to kill your ego. You have to be accountable to yourself. You have to be accountable to whatever vision. See, and that's why I say the lack of vision is so important because you have to be accountable to the vision. I'm accountable to Legacy Builders podcast. I'm accountable to everything I'm trying to create. And so when I can't let ego get me out of the way. And so when somebody corrects me out of love, here it is, out of love, I know that it's coming from a place that is trying to make sure I reach the vision. So certain times when I call my mama, she starts her thing. And sometimes I don't want to hear it, but I know it's out of love. I know it's out of a better place. Certain people, certain individuals in my life, when they call me, when they see their name pop out the phone, I know there's going to be a talk about accountability. There's going to be a talk about, okay, Jaheim, what are we doing? Okay, what are we progressing to? Because I know it's out of love. I know it's out of a greater purpose. Here it is. The second green flag you have to be aware of, you have to possess in your life is the consistent growth mindset. Not just growth mindset, but being willing to always learn, being willing to always evolve. I think one of the most powerful people in life are the people who are consistent in their growth, who are consistent in their ability to learn and to and to evolve in each season. Those two fraternity brothers I was telling you about, I've seen them from afar, and they have grown even now, and even in this part of life. One of them has just graduated with his degree. One of them is, I mean, he's killing the podcast game. Everything I learned, everything I tried to implement here at Legacy Builders Podcast, he's doing, and it's because I've seen they have a consistent growth mindset. Young people my age who are growing, young people my age who are excelling, and people who are excelling in life is because they have a constant growth mindset. What doesn't work here might work there, and that's what growth mindset is. What may not work here might work there, um, and purpose driven living. They have a why and it shows. See, it all connects. They have a why. I remember I talked about that a few podcasts ago. Know your why and stick to your why. Your why is going to lead you in life. Your why is going to lead you in places and seasons and things and areas of your life. And it's, you can see it when you look at certain people in life. You can see their why. Their why will shine brighter than them. The why, and when your why shines brighter than you, it leads to doors that you never thought you could get into. God, that's good. Emotional maturity. They know how to handle conflict without chaos. I love somebody who's emotionally mature. And I had to learn. I listen, when I started this podcast, I was not emotionally mature. I had a friend tell me that it's not always about me. And that hurt. And I always reference to that. That hurt. But it was so true. And I had to stop looking at the lens of relationships, of friendships, that everything ain't about me. Sometimes, and honestly, once I learned that, I was able to celebrate people more. I was able to learn and lean from people more because I knew that everything wasn't about me. Everything wasn't a center about me, and I was okay with that. So emotionally mature people. And you can celebrate people without competition. I'm in a season of my life where listen, a lot of people graduated this weekend. A lot of black graduates, white graduates, whoever, white belly, whatever. They were graduating, and I was like, literally, I was liking every photo. I was sharing every picture I could. I was congratulating people I didn't even know. I was in their comments, congratulations, because you know why? My season is coming up soon. And if you can celebrate somebody who has gotten there before you, who has gotten there before you, and you can celebrate them with the honesty and the purity of your heart, then I believe that, doors open up for you. So I believe that doors are going to open up. But it was, I don't know, hidden emotion, and I was just like, oh God, okay, I'm gonna use that for graduation pictures next year. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I saw it, and I was happy because I knew that in the end, my time is gonna come. So if you can celebrate somebody without competition, clap even when it's not their turn, even when it's not your turn. Can you still clap? Can you still celebrate even when you're in delayed? That's good. So green flags are people who water you and not train you. Green flags are systems that are places that water you. And um, so what red flags are you ignoring? As I leave you with this, as we leave with this, what red flags are you ignoring because of loneliness, fear, or because of comfort? What red flags are you, you're not missing out? And I want you to write down this week. This is homework. This is your homework podcast. I want you to write down 3 flags, red flags you leave behind, and 3 green flags you're committed to chasing. God, that's good. Write down 3 red flags you want to leave behind in this second quarter of the year, and write 3 green flags you're committed to chasing. And so legacy, and I'm gonna leave you with this, y'all. Legacy isn't built by chance, it's built by choices. So you got to choose your flags wisely because your future depends on it. God, let me say it again. Legacy isn't built by chance. It's built by choices. So you got to choose your flags wisely because your future depends on it. So, friends and family, we're back. We're moving to Mondays. We're moving to Mondays every Monday at we'll find the time, but every Monday we're gonna be here at Legacy Builders Podcast. And so tag a friend who needs this episode, post your biggest takeaway using the hashtag Legacy Builders Podcast, and follow us on all platforms. If you're serious about walking in your purpose, this is your tribe. We are your people. Legacy Builders Podcast. Love you, family. See you next time.